Is this thing on? Ask me what I'm drinking.
Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid,
You're
yo.
drinking the Kool-Aid.
Shoving me down some Kool-Aid.
Now, did you read my comment if I wanted to do a whole recording of us all drinking Kool-Aid
Yes,
as a
I did.
sound clip?
Yes.
You rascal. I wanted to do that myself. Doggone it. I'm sick now.
Yeah, Miss had the idea.
Yes. My idea. Just
yeah,
we're clear.
it was.
Give credit where credit
Hold on
is
just a
due.
second.
Yep. You're drinking the Kool-Aid. That is it. Hold on. Let me drink my Kool-Aid. Let me drink more Kool-Aid.
Sorry.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, we're drinking Kool-Aid today.
Well, first of all, just off the top, because we are going to talk about, apparently this episode's about me.
Yes.
I'm
excited to hear this.
It's all about me.
All about you.
But right off the top, I want to rebuke Kanan and all the rest of you clowns.
Oh my goodness.
I rebuke thee.
I remember my family down in Ohio when we'd be praying and over the demons and whatnot. And I remember my dad be like, "I rebuke you," and I'm like,
Well, apparently you're like those demons because you have been rebuked, Kanan.
"Been rebuked." Oh man, dude, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, that was a fun little comment we got today. Actually, somebody decided to publicly rebuke us, which we're like, hey,
Did they say rebuke?
Yeah,
they said rebuke.
Shut up! Where I missed
Yeah,
that.
yeah, they said rebuke.
Oh, yeah.
They rebuke. I mean, rebuke.
Oh, and then
It was like puke. You know?
it was just like puke.
Yes.
It left a bad taste in your mouth.
She said
man.
something about. Let me read just a little bit of it here because I got a kick out of it actually. I've never done this before, but I'm publicly rebuking Hillbilly Broadcast. They wanted to know who wrote the reviews, so here I am having written one of them.
Quick question: did we actually say we wanted to know who it was? I don't remember ever actually wanting to know who it was.
I think we mentioned it.
I think we said, like we don't know who this is. Yeah, it was something along that line.
Because I'm only 1 out of 4, but I really didn't care who wrote it.
No, we didn't say that. We didn't say. We said we want to know who was preaching on us because we started getting all these, all this flack.
Yes,
I don't remember.
because I think usually I remember you did say something about that because you're like usually when the little minions start coming out, it's because some preacher,
like someone's
Usually
preaching about us,
like-
so that's and then when they come out,
somebody preached about it.
Right.
Yeah, somebody got them all pumped up on energy drinks and coffee and whatever, and Kool-Aid. There you go.
no, they're all hyped up on Kool-Aid.
All
That's
of them on
it.
Kool-Aid.
All hopped up on Kool-Aid. So then they got to preaching about us, and then little minions went forth to rebuke.
Yeah.
We probably
Seriously.
should edit some of that out.
Wouldn't want
you
to
talk
get
about
rebuked again, would you?
Dude,
Nice
I
little
wouldn't wanna make
podcast
anybody
you got there. Be ashamed if I rebuked it.
Yeah. Be ashamed.
Cool.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I
great.
gotta stop.
That's great.
I gotta
That's
stop.
great.
Yeah,
Hey, praise
this lady
be to
is
me.
not. She is not happy.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know if we should necessarily read all this because it was. She did say at the end that we openly mocked her.
What?
And whoever left the other review on Saturday's broadcast. Now, this and let me say this real quick. And we've done 2 episodes trying to explain ourselves. It's obvious that the CHM is not listening.
They listen to 10 minutes.
Yeah, they listen to 10 minutes, and then they're like, well,
Yeah.
they're going to hell, so on to the next one.
So
Now,
how
what's
many
getting
times?
these days?
So how many times do we have to say that we are not mocking you?
Yeah. You call it mocking. We have fun. We make some jokes. All right. You call it whatever.
Yeah.
But for some reason you're like, oh, you
I'm
guys is
not listening to
mocking.
any comedians.
Yeah. How's come you didn't decide to make a post about what CHM2 has been uncovering lately, huh? Or is the kid
Yes.
thing not really that big of a deal to you, lady?
Yeah. For the sake of your children, I would stay away from any CHM church.
Yeah, apparently they don't care about that.
No.
Yeah,
No.
for real.
With her little ones, like for sure.
Well, I'm very careful with Anderson. With CHM stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't want him going
Yeah.
to one if we're not there. Sorry, Mom and Dad. I know you're going to one, but maybe it's easier for me to say it on here than actually telling my dad no in person.
Just break some family news.
I can't, guys.
Family
I
news
love,
over the podcast.
y'all.
Sorry,
I
Dad. I
love
don't
my
trust your pastor
parents.
with my little boy.
No, it's true, Kanan. It's true. I don't trust the movement. I don't at all.
No.
I love my parents to death. I know that they would die for my child, but I'm sorry. People are sly these days.
There was one thing though that did strike my my fancy. Not that it does any good to you won't win these people over, but there was a comment here. So there's been this epidemic of parody accounts lately, and
Oh man, yeah.
and
okay,
somebody
yeah.
has made one for Jim Plank, and it ain't me, it ain't nobody on the podcast, so don't get any ideas. And so what? the name of the account is Plank James. Real creative with the name of it.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't it remind you of the Jim Plank name?
so this parody account, of course, is wanting to stir the pot.
The pot.
And the parody account posts, I just want to say that I appreciate your stand for the truth. Those people at Hillbilly Broadcast need to confess their transgressions
Oh,
to the God of the CHM.
My Lord.
oh man.
Okay.
Oh my Lord.
So he's carrying on, all right? The lady responds, she says, wow, it may be too strong of a word, but you're tiptoeing on blasphemy.
Oh no.
Again, mocking the things of God. Are
By
you
what? Making fun of
kidding?
Jim Plank?
Is he saying the blasphemy is about the
Account or about what he said?
Well, either way.
Because I took it as he took it as what he was saying.
Well, what he said though, so they need to realize that some things can be swept under the rug to preserve the appearance of the rug.
Okay, hold on.
What's under the rug doesn't matter as long as the surface of the rug.
Yes. Okay. So
It was
either
pretty good.
way, with her comment, okay, the things of God are either truth, Hillbilly Broadcast, the rug, and that's it.
Yeah.
So either one of those things.
Yeah, I think either way, her calling it blasphemy is so freaking dangerous.
Yeah, either thing was ridiculous. So
Make fun of the CHM, you're blaspheming. You make fun of Jim Plank, you're blaspheming. But anyway, okay.
Yep.
On to something else.
Okay.
How do we want to segue into this?
Phil, this is all about you, my man.
Yes, Kanan, this episode is apparently all about me. So
Yes,
So-
it is.
why don't you explain it, Kanan? Why are we doing this?
Well, we got to thinking after a lot of podcasts and stuff, and really wading into the muck.
Mhm.
that maybe it was time to kind of give our actual personal stories of how we actually came to Christ. And so we've actually been talking about this for a while, and so I think it'd be great. And of course, I was talking to you I think earlier today, and I was like, man, Phil, I think it'd be good to go ahead and give your story first. I think you got a good one, so it'd be great to hear them.
There is a common theme that runs through all of our stories. We all came to Christ, and then we all left the CHM.
Right.
And it's
Yes.
He opened our eyes.
there have been several people that have asked about our own personal stories. Because when I really got thinking about it, I'm like, there's really not that much about us out there, I guess. We're too busy mocking everyone else. But, but yeah, so I guess we can start with mine. And I'm glad that, especially I told Miss that I'm glad that Kanan's here because you were around for a lot of this, Kanan, and I know that you'll be able to just poke a lot of fun at my expense.
Oh man.
So how did you guys how old were you guys when you guys first met? Because you guys met before Phil and I got together. You were like what, 11, Kanan, and Phil was 13, 14-ish. Does that sound right?
Yep. About right in there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about the age. Yeah, you're about spot on.
Can I play something first to sum up how I was?
Yes.
Okay, let me play a clip. Speaking of Plank James, let me play a clip of the actual Jim Plank. And this pretty much sums up a lot of how I felt back then.
Preacher, you mean there's not going to be anybody else in heaven besides old-fashioned holiness people? You really think I'm that dumb? I know God has his people all around this world. But I just want to tell you the holiness way is the right way. And whoever gets to heaven will have to walk in every ray of light that they've been given. And I don't look at the light that I've been given as a grievous thing. I say praise God for every ray of light I've been given. It has kept me from a lot of things. It has kept me on the way toward heaven. I'd rather die with my religion than most of the religion I'm seeing out there. That's half in, half out, marking more like the world than anything else. I'll take the old-fashioned way. It will do while you're living, and it'll do when you're dying. We're losing our best and brightest. Don't you dare tell that to these young people right here. Don't you dare tell that to John, Mark, and Colin. Don't you dare tell that to Jacob down here. Don't you dare. You want to irk me? I'm telling you what, I'll get irked, and it'll be a holy, righteous, sanctified irk. You don't dare tell me we're losing our best and brightest. Well, Brother Blank, what about this one that's just leaving us? They aren't very bright, that's what. That's right. And they're not the best. Now, I feel bad about that because some of them are my dear friends. I'm saying that real brave-like, but I want to tell you, it kills. There's young people that we've invested in, young people we thought were going to do great. But I want to tell you, if after Grandma and Grandpa and Mom and Dad have prayed and fasted and given, paid their way through Bible college, people sacrificed. The tears of the saints as they prayed with them around church altars and camp meeting altars. If you can turn your back on that and walk away from that and go out into the world and pretend you're okay, well, you discard every standard and every doctrine. I want to tell you something. You're not the best, and you're not the brightest, and you need to return to Father's house just like the prodigal. Don't tell me how spiritual you are. You're a prodigal, and you need to come home to Father's house.
That pretty much sums up how I was when I was in the CHM.
That is so sad.
Yep. I would look down my nose at everybody else. And if you dared to leave,
Yep.
then you're just not very bright, and you're definitely not the best we got.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
I was very
I have
arrogant.
so many comments.
I know.
Go ahead.
My brain is
my
going
gosh.
75 miles an
Oh my
hour.
gosh.
Go ahead. Y'all go ahead for it.
Like, I'm physically angry. Like, my heart's pounding. I'm angry right now because that is so wrong on so many levels.
It sure
Yeah.
is.
Also, who died and made you God? Who said that you're who told you that you can say these things and tell people that they're dumb and that they're wrong?
Yeah.
Who? Please tell me.
Exactly.
Please tell me.
And girl, this goes along with Benjamin Crawford's comment too. And I wanted to read this, and it really just like sent off warning signs in my head of why exactly we are doing what we're doing. And Benjamin Crawford said, agreed. I was surprised to see Grace Story Ministries platforming these people along with the Pentecostal site Berean Holiness. The common thread appears to be a rejection of traditional interpretation of Christian lifestyle issues. Just so we are clear here.
And that was on the post we
That was on the post we just you just read, okay? I do have a problem whenever we are boasting standards that are not scriptural. They are traditional. They have been supported for all these years. That does not make it right.
Right.
That does not make it scripture. So before you start tooting your own horn about how all the people that have left are not smart, I will really just stand up with you and say, I was following the Bible. You're wanting to tell me that I have to follow some stupid standard that is not in the Bible. I am supporting the Bible.
Who's going to be held accountable for his actions now? Who's
Yeah.
going to be the one held accountable?
Well, and that comes along with his thing too, girl. Whenever he was talking, he said, why are you investigating things that I've said from the pulpit or something like that? Remember he said that?
Yeah, Jim Plank's not a fan of that. He doesn't like people criticizing stuff.
yeah,
he
he
says.
How
doesn't-
dare you question me?
Right.
How dare you?
Right. And
Don't
that,
you dare question me.
that goes along with the next podcast that I think really want to have. And I've been talking to a few people about what makes a CHM a possible cult. I have so many people sending me like paragraphs and paragraphs of things of what they feel.
Yeah.
And guys, it's nothing to play around with. This is actually dangerous territory that the CHM is playing with by pushing their own man-made rules, just like the Pharisees did in the Bible.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's another
Absolutely.
podcast we're looking forward to doing.
Okay, I'm sorry, Phil. This is back to your story.
Yes.
Let's get off this.
Yeah, no.
Let's get off this.
No,
Get
y'all
back to your
good.
story.
But your reason for playing that was
That's exactly what I was. That's
Right.
what I was.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was.
He is not lying, folks.
Kanan was there. Kanan saw all this. I was.
Oh, man.
I was that arrogant about it, if not more so.
Yeah.
Like I probably. Well, and granted, the circles I ran in, they looked down on IHC for being too worldly. So I
Yeah.
probably would have said, "Well, Jim, if you really get serious with the gods,
Right.
you'll just come over."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember you saying like that was the one thing you guys didn't go to because it was like looked down upon.
It was looked
And
down.
then Kanan was talking about how his family would go to that, and we're like, yeah, yeah, no, that's where all the sinful people go.
Yes, little sinful folks for that.
Kanan's family, God bless them. They're walking in all the light that they currently have.
They might make it to heaven, but I don't know.
Oh man, yeah, man, dude, Phil, you were, when you got saved, dude, you were on fire for the CHM.
Yeah, I was on fire. Yeah,
might not have been on the fire for God, but you sure were for CHM. I remember me and you having the talk. I was like, you told me that you did not. Well, there was a girl that I think you said you like. She's a nice looking lady, and then but you're like, she's wearing them sleep pants, and I'm like, what's that got to do with anything? I'm like, would you rather her be naked? Well, okay, don't answer that.
don't answer that question.
And you're like, well, it's like sleep pants, that's wrong or whatever. And I was like trying to wrap my little mind around that. I'm like, what?
I'm regretting doing this episode already.
Yeah, because did you guys go to the mall after? When did you get saved, Phil?
Well,
Tell us about that.
Okay, so I went to the altar and accepted Christ in 2004. That made me
12.
Yeah, maybe roughly 12.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that I was in deep sin when I
all the things that
you were out there
done.
smoking and drinking, but not running women. That's a country song right there.
I was smoking the grass outside.
So there's never been a time that I didn't know about the CHM. Like my dad was a pastor for a while. Mm-hmm. He pastored a church in Valley Head, West Virginia, called Light of the Valley Tabernacle.
Mm-hmm.
It was an independent holiness church, and Dad actually built the church with his own hands while he was driving truck on the side.
Right.
No, I'm sorry. He built the church on the side while he was driving truck full time.
Oh, okay.
So he would come home and then build this church. And so he pastored that for a while. Most of that was before I was born. And so, yeah, I say all that to say that I've been around the CHM from as long as I can remember.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were 12 at the time. So when you met Kanan, you were going to the malls and you were looking at girls.
Well, this was much later. This was
much later?
This was during
okay.
my
much later in life.
Yes.
It was at least a good 2 or 3 years.
So had you backslid at this point?
Oh, no. Holiness people don't backslide.
No, Phil was a good man. Phil was a good man.
No.
What?
No.
Compared to Kanan, probably. But my goodness.
We didn't sin back then.
Yeah, because Kanan was the one trying to get you to do all these awful things, and you're like, no,
Well,
what?
Now,
what?
correction. Now, correction. Of course, me and Phil, we have laughed about this a lot. So it's all water under the bridge now. We think it's hilarious. But
Right.
I went to Fort Ashby with him, and we were probably roughly you were probably 16 at the time, right? Because you had your license and stuff.
Was that
Something
before
like
or
that.
after me?
That'd been before, I think.
It would have been just right before though.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it was that same summer that we met,
it could have been because I went down there in June,
mm-hmm.
and July would have been Clinton. So yeah, it would probably been about a month before, honestly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to Fort Ashby with him and was hanging out, having a good time, and we went to the mall. And I remember there was this. Of course, you told me before we ever went to Fort Ashby, you're like, dude, this mall down here has so many good-looking girls. And I'm like, how good can it be? At the mall. And, dude, you was not lying. Dude, there are girls everywhere. And so I remember there was this girl that had a
He looked like
this.
he looked like a buck in the rut, just running around.
He's pouring at the floor.
we were sitting at the food court, and there was this girl that had her back to it, and so I was staring for quite a while. And I remember Phil saying, look at the face before you look at anything else.
Make sure you look at the face.
Like,
okay. Oh my gosh.
So I thought, you know what? Phil's on board with this. Phil's cool. Phil is enjoying himself like I am. No problem.
Oh
well,
no.
I get home from that weekend. Of course, by the way, she turned around and he was exactly right. That face was oh my. Anyway, so I get home and Mom's like, so I heard you were looking at quite a bit of girls. I'm like, yeah, what? Not me.
Oh no.
I would never.
Not little old me.
I need prayer.
I would never do something like that.
I need prayer.
Exactly. Lots of it around that time. and so Mom's like, no, Phil said he had a good time with you. You're a good guy, but you like to look at the women. I'm like, man, my brother sold me out.
Oh no.
So turns out
man.
CHM Phil did not like looking at the girl.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
Here's
man.
the thing. CHM Phil did like looking at the girls. He just felt that he was constantly sinning.
Aww.
Well, I just thought I would ask for forgiveness once I got out of Fort Ashby. You know what I'm saying?
God didn't see all the way into Fort Ashby.
Oh man. But anyway, continue. So I mean, you got saved around 12. I mean, you were deep in the CHM, and I mean, I feel like through all that time, like you really did try to serve God to the best of our ability, and to know, you know what I'm saying? Like I really did feel like you were had a lot of confidence in you, and
Well,
stuff,
you shouldn't have. But just I was saved into an Allegheny church. It's West Hill Wesleyan Methodist Church. It's still in operation, just down the road,
Sadly.
actually, from where we are now.
Sadly.
And West Hill Church. So we'd moved from the Valley Head area to the Grafton area. This would have been like the late 90s. You had a few holiness churches around this area. So you had the West Hill Wesleyan Methodist Church. You had the Grafton Wesleyan Holiness Church, which was, Wesleyan Holiness. Of course, the West Hill Church, like I said, was Allegheny. For some reason, Allegheny churches calls themselves Wesleyan Methodist Church. Like that's what's in the church name. It's weird. Okay. Which I wish that was the only weird thing about the Allegheny Conference. But,
True.
And then you had Wolf Summit Church, which was another Allegheny church that I attended at some time. But so long before I was ever born, you had West Hill Church and you had Grafton Wesleyan Holiness Church that hated each other's guts. I'm talking frickin' despised one another.
Like the one lady, even at the one church, she said, like God told her to never go back to that church, and she was gonna make it to heaven.
God didn't tell her. She told God she wouldn't go back.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there was even one guy that got drunk one night and shot a shotgun up towards the. Oh no! Wait a minute. They were shooting at West Hill. They didn't like West Hill. Sorry, never mind.
Either way, they hated each other. They hated each other. Either way.
Yeah, and hated the church. And yeah. So anyway.
Yeah, there was a lot of bad blood. I have heard
There
rumors
was.
of like there's threats to burn down the pastor's house that pastored the Wesleyan Holiness Church. Stuff like that. Like it was almost a Hatfield McCoy situation. And it
really was.
It was. And it was one of those things too, where if you went to the one holiness church, because that's the only two holiness churches in that immediate area. So if somebody gets crossed up at the one holiness church, then they're going to go to the other one. Right. Which is like changing from Bloods to Crips. Yeah. And then like it, and a lot of times it's family and all. But then, like, people won't talk to each other and all that. So this is the holiness movement I grew up around. Yeah. Yeah, the feud was very, very bad. In fact, I can remember my pap has told me before, Ron Gandy, one of the best guys that I ever knew, and he was CHM, although he was very disillusioned with it at the end of his life. I can remember him telling me that way back in the day, he invited somebody to come to church, and he was going to the Wesleyan Holiness Church at that time. And he said, "Hey, why don't you come down and go to church?" And the guy told him, said, "No." And Pap's like,
Okay.
all right. Because that's not the normal response you get from somebody. He said, "Well, can I ask why?" He said, "Yes. And I'll tell you why." He said, "Right now, I don't have an enemy in the world. But as soon as I go to the Wesleyan Holiness Church, everybody at the Allegheny Church is going to hate my guts. And if I go to the Allegheny Church, everybody at the Wesleyan Holiness Church is going to hate my guts. So I'm better off not going to church."
Wow.
Man alive. But he wasn't wrong either.
Oh, he wasn't wrong. He wasn't
No,
wrong.
he's not wrong.
That's a big
Man.
statement to say, you know?
And I remember
Oh,
Pap
yeah.
telling me, he's like, there was nothing I could tell him.
He
I
wasn't
couldn't
wrong.
defend against that.
Yeah, because he wasn't lying.
Yeah. Yep.
My goodness.
That's how it was.
Crazy.
But the West Hill Church, that's where most of the crazy theology that I heard came from. So we would have evangelists come through there like Tim Hamaker, Paul Dragoo, of course the Victory Trio would come through. You had Archie Atwell Jr. Well, you also had John McDonald would come through there as well. John McDonald was an interesting character. He's the one that preached that time that he would rather have the 6-inch sewer pipe coming straight into his living room than have the internet in his house.
Oh boy.
So that's that's the kind of evangelist I grew up with, and I know that some of our listeners, I think, have made comments about like Archie Jr. and stuff like that. So, like Archie Atwell Jr., if I remember right, would preach against Southern gospel. Southern gospel was wrong because the people singing it were not holiness people.
And how do they know that? And how do they know that, though? You know,
Well, you could look at this is the thing. This is how you judge a holiness Christian.
by their outward
You look at them.
appearance. Yes, exactly.
And we could all see their covers. And I can remember going to seeing the Inspirations one time and just being like, man, wow, they seem so sincere. And I was talking about the tenor singer that time, Archie something, I forget the guy's last name. And I remember thinking that he seemed so much like he was really trying to serve God.
You thought for sure he was. Yeah.
And he didn't have a wedding ring on that night that I saw him. And I'm like, wow, maybe he actually got something.
Yeah, maybe.
And then later on, I saw a picture of him on his album with a
And he
wedding
had a
ring on.
wedding
And I
ring.
was like, well, unfortunately, some people just won't sell out to go with God.
Yeah, that wedding ring was definitely the tell that he was going to hell.
And I want people to realize, I'm not kidding. We kid a lot. I'm not kidding with this. This is
I
how
know.
it was. This was it.
I'm just waiting for you to tell the story of how you met me, and then when you start telling other things.
Oh, yeah.
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 So go ahead.
I'll get to that
Keep
as
on
well.
going. I'm listening.
Tim Hamaker would come through and he would preach against cowboy boots. Cowboy boots are wrong. They're prideful. He would also preach against Rush Limbaugh. Rush
Because
Limbaugh
of
was
the
wrong.
music he put on.
Because
Now
of his
he is
theme
a god. I'm
music.
kidding.
Yeah. See, Rush Limbaugh, most holiness people love Rush Limbaugh.
I know.
And I think this is Tim Hamaker. There's Tim and there's Mark Hamaker. They're brothers. I think this was I think this was Mark that came through. But he would preach against Rush Limbaugh because of the theme music when he would come in, because Rush would play, but Rush played good music.
So that was the worst thing. It wasn't intelligence on loan from God wasn't the worst thing he was on.
No.
My goodness.
No.
Anyways.
So it was bad because of the music. I'm trying to think of I remember Paul Dragoo, if I remember right. He preached against WVU Mountaineers apparel. And I remember just being like, now I am joking here, but seriously, the guy should have been very, very careful. I mean, this is West Virginia.
Yes, you don't, man.
Every person in West Virginia owns some sort of Mountaineer apparel.
Yes.
It's just the way it works. But
We're
yeah.
proud of our
Oh, yeah.
state for sure.
And why was that wrong, you would ask? Well, good question. I'm glad you asked. It was wrong because WV Mountaineers is a sports team, and sports is a sin. Yes.
That's the only reason.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Yes. Why is sports a sin?
Man.
You got cheerleaders. Okay. You got beer, which at that time, the stadium didn't even sell beer. This is how
Right.
little these guys actually knew about what they were talking about. And they would talk about, too, they play on the Lord's Day. When is college football?
It's during the week.
It's like Saturday, right?
Or-
The Saturday's the main day, right?
Yeah, it is.
With occasional games during
Yeah.
the week, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But they knew that little about what they were talking about.
They have no idea. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But if somebody
My
wants to
people
jump in, just stop
suffer
me.
for lack of knowledge.
Oh, yeah, there was a lot of
They
people suffering.
do
for
have
lack
a lot of lack of knowledge on a lot of things when it comes. Yeah.
For
No.
sure. Not even kidding.
Now, keep in mind, this is all stuff that I was pretty well on board with. The cowboy boots, mountaineer stuff, we kind of like, he's a very good man, but, we'll just differ there.
Yeah.
What did they all say about like women and stuff like that? Like, did you agree that women were supposed to be doing certain things?
Oh, Lord, yes.
Yeah.
You see this list right here, miss? And our listeners can see. This is all stuff that I can remember being preached on or being stood against. And this is just the stupid stuff.
Okay.
So let me go through this list a little bit.
I want to hear.
Things that were wrong, okay?
Okay.
Cowboy boots, short sleeves. We're still not sure exactly why short sleeves are wrong. Some people have said that your elbow looks like a boob.
Right.
Whatever. Parades. I'm not kidding. Parades were wrong. They were sinful.
Because of the candy or what?
The cheerleaders. Seriously.
The dance groups.
Yeah, but exactly right. Apparently, these men were afraid that they would lust after high school age girls.
Oh, right there is the problem, man.
I believe they would. That's the problem.
That's the problem. They were concerned for their own watching teenagers walk down the road.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
I can remember the first parade I ever went to. Mom was a bit of a rebel in a good way. And she didn't go for all the crap. Mom did a very good job raising us in amongst that mess of the CHM.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can remember she would take us to Kennywood.
Yep.
She was nervous to do that because of other people finding out, but she would still do it. Mom gave us a very, very good childhood. And they had a parade at Kennywood, and I remember standing there watching it and just kind of all of a sudden, it was like, whoa, I'm really, this feels weird.
Yeah.
You know?
It was a
I'm really turned on right
you.
now.
Yeah. You were all like, oh, them teenagers flipping their batons.
Work the batons, baby.
Yes. Twirl, baby, twirl.
But yeah.
Well, I remember when we actually, of course, you went to Kennywood many times before I did, but I remember we went during Clinton Camp one year, and I remember there was a huge. You remember that uproar we had?
Oh,
Missy,
do I
you probably
ever.
remember that.
Yep. Because you were taking the children from God's place.
Yeah, that's kind of what they were saying, and
Literally.
I remember they were like, and dude, you got to think we were all of age at that time. Well, I was. You were probably what, 16, 17?
No,
so
I was
I would
married.
have been.
We were married.
Would you? What? Oh my. Okay, so I'd have been about 16 then. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd have been about 16. So I mean, dude, I'm driving. You guys are driving. Like we had our own cars. We had our own money.
Yep.
It's like and they were getting mad because of going to Kennywood for one day. It was crazy. So that just tells you how strict they are.
Yep.
They would preach against amusement parks. Amusement parks were wrong.
Oh, I remember them. I remember them messages at Clinton Camp.
Yeah, Mom saw through that, and she took us to amusement parks for most of my life. There was a time that I can remember when she didn't, but for most of it, she did. In fact, I can remember we went to SeaWorld one time, and I can remember.
There was a problem with SeaWorld?
No, there wasn't. And you want to know why? They didn't have rides at SeaWorld at the time. The one in Ohio, they didn't.
Really?
Yeah, the one in Ohio. Yeah, the one in Ohio didn't.
And that was kind of the thing. So it wasn't a technical amusement park like you think. Even though it was, there was a lot of amusement. We're all watching that stupid whale.
So what's wrong with the rides, I wonder? What was the reason on that?
I don't know. I honestly cannot tell you. There was,
I'm trying to think.
Along with this, they would also preach against the fair. Going to the fair.
Well,
I remember that.
That is understandable, though, because the fair used to be a bad place back in the day.
That's the thing, though. Used to be. We're talking like when my
Current
dad
day.
was a little kid who was born in the 30s.
Yeah, like what, 30s and 40s? Yeah, 30s and 40s.
I can remember Judy Williams, God rest her soul. I'm not picking a fight with Judy Williams. She always treated me nice. But I can remember her distinctly. I can remember her preaching against circuses and carnivals. She would say it like that.
Yes.
Circuses.
Yes.
What's that? Circus?
Cuss. Yeah, circus. So
Are you kidding?
Right. Circuses, carnivals. Yeah, fairs was wrong because I guess back in the day they used to have like peep shows or something like that.
Yes, they did.
None of that has existed at the Taylor County Fair or the Barber County Fair for as long as anybody can frickin' remember.
Man, dude, we've been to the freaking Indy State Fair. There's none of that kind of stuff.
It's not there. It has not existed there since I've been alive.
Now, Muncie, they did have a strip club. I did see that for a minute.
I walked in there and I was like, oh, this is awful.
There was a strip club in the Muncie fair. I stayed there for probably 20 minutes longer than I should have.
Wait, are you being serious? There was a strip club in the Muncie Fair?
No. I'm just being dumb.
I was getting all excited.
Yeah, you're like, I'm coming to the Muncie Fair, bro.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man. Man, my going through all this has just got my head just.
Oh, I know.
Man.
I feel like we're reminiscing on Cheat Mountain or something. Like there's.
Oh, we are.
I'm getting all nostalgic thinking about all this stuff.
Exactly.
The TV was wrong. Internet was wrong, but it depended on. Like we usually
when it was
had
used, like why it's used.
Well, no, we usually had it as a kid, but there was a lot of preachers that would preach against it.
Why was it okay for you guys to have? Just because mom thought it was okay?
Yeah, mom decided it was okay.
But what did your dad say?
Dad was fine with it.
Okay.
Yeah, Dad was fine with it. Country music was of the frickin' devil. That was.
Oh yeah.
There was.
Oh man. Yeah.
Buck Owens was the Antichrist. And that was the one right there. Oh, I used to. I would be so tempted to listen. I wanted to listen to country music so bad. I was a guitar player, and I would hear Brad Paisley, and I could just remember, dude. I could almost physically feel like this longing to listen to that radio. Like I need to hear what Brad Paisley's doing. You know.
Yeah.
And I would just. So I can remember sitting in the van with my dad, and this tells you how long ago this was. I Don't Have to Be Me Till Monday was on the radio. It was a current hit.
No.
Yes.
Oh, dude, that's amazing.
That's an
so this would have been and This Is My Town.
Oh no!
Yes.
That's a good song.
This was the current music.
Good music.
Yes, and I remember sitting. My mom was working at Burger King at the time. This was before mom went back to college, and she was working at Burger King, and Dad was with us to pick mom up, and I would scan through the radio because Dad would just be like, he would let us like turn the radio on or whatever. I don't know what he thought we was going to hear, but I knew what I wanted to hear.
Right.
So I would scan through, and I can remember hearing, I Don't Have to Be Me Till Monday, and just being like, that song grabbed me, and I would leave it there until Dad would be like, hey, turn that off. And so I would scan forward and then scan back again to make it seem like I'd just come and then I'd hey, and then I'd scan forward again, and scan back. Just trying to hear as much of that song as I possibly could.
And you still love that song to this day.
I love that song to this day.
Every time it comes on.
I do too. Every now and then I'll just turn that song on. I don't even. It's just dude. So talking about country music, do you remember it was our last year at Clinton Camp? And all three of us were bebopping out of Clinton Camp in that old 99 Buick to Taylor Swift.
We were
baby.
We felt so bad, didn't we? We felt so bad.
We did. And I remember my dad, he was on his, my poor dad, I got to be careful. My dad comes bopping over there on his little scooter, and his eyes were yay big, and he's like, what are you listening to? We're just like, Taylor Swift, and I'm like 16 years old, dude, got my own job and, whatever else.
Right.
Like, I'm like, dude, like, turn that off. And I remember you guys were like trying to be like the better influence.
Whatever.
So you guys turn it off, and we're pulling out of there, and we get like out of reach of my dad, and I'm like, why is this radio not going back on? We're away from the idiot. And so like, I'm like, are you guys not going to turn this on? And you're like, well, your dad said, dude, who cares what my dad says?
I remember that. I remember. Because what I thought was,
turn this back on.
I was thinking, once we get off the campus, then we're going to go ahead and turn it back on. And we were like, not even 2 feet away from your dad. And you're like, bam, just turn the thing back on.
I think I remember this now.
Yeah.
Basically, the car was pointed in the direction to where Dad was not going to catch us on his little buggy. So I was like, I'm turning this back on because Taylor Swift is singing "Sparks Fly," and I got to listen to it.
And for people listening, this is how out of touch with culture we were. We thought that we were cool.
Yeah.
By listening to
Taylor Swift. Well, dude, no. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I listened to Taylor Swift because I couldn't watch porn.
Oh, no.
That's just a joke. That's just a joke. Don't send me to hell, please. So anyway, that was the country music we were listening to, man. I mean, that was dude, yes. My life was changed once I started hearing that music.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, like, so then I got into rock as well
Oh yeah.
afterwards, and I began, like, I'm hearing like ZZ Top for the first time in like 2012, 2011.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, who's this new band? It's like they've literally been around since the 70s, dummy. Yeah.
Oh man, dude. Well, and if we well, no, you're in 2012, so we don't have to fast forward too far.
No,
but,
he
around that
skipped over
time-
the part wherever you have to talk about why you called up Pat.
I'm still just going down the list of sins
Oh, okay.
at the moment.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
we had country music, which that was one of John McDonald's big things. And I can remember, let me just say this in real quick. I can remember sitting and listening to him, and I was sincere in this stuff, guys. I was a true believer. And I remember hearing him preach, and he was like, you don't want nothing to stand between you and God on Judgment Day. And of course, he'd also been raving against country music because he was a guitar player as well. And I just remember being like, sitting there feeling terrified because I'd been listening to a song that was also big at that time. I'd settle for a slowdown, stuff like that.
Oh, the wheels just
yeah,
turn.
yeah, the good
oh
stuff.
my gosh, that's one of the best ones.
Yeah. And I just remember being like, this is obviously wrong. And
I
don't
am
want this
impressed with your music
Oh, I
taste.
love this stuff. And
I love this.
I was like, this is obviously wrong, and I don't want this to stand between me and God on Judgment Day. And that cut off. So then I tried to survive as a guitar player,
Right.
while listening to bluegrass gospel, which is of the devil, straight from the pits of hell.
Your poor friend.
It's horrible. It's horrible. Gospel music is horrible. I like some bluegrass, but I take it in small doses.
Yeah, but if you're restricted to only the bluegrass gospel, like you can't listen to the normal. Yeah, and
you're in trouble.
And then like Southern gospel music, which I understand there are some listeners of ours that are fans of Southern gospel. There's very few
Right.
things in Southern gospel I do like, and some of it almost repulses me.
Yes.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yes.
It's horrible. Hey, dude, we bash everything else. We might as well bash gospel music.
all of a sudden, Ronnie Booth just posts a thing. I'm rebuking Hillbilly Broadcast.
You put the broadcast.
Yes.
Dude.
I'm gonna have Kim Booth messaging me and be like, hey, so we don't really like what you just said about Southern gospel.
About the gospel.
To be fair, they like the
do.
Eagles really well.
They do. Yeah.
So now, man, and you talking about music and stuff. You remember we were kind of sneaking around listening to some Beach Boys.
Yes.
Oh, remember that?
Back in the mid 2000s there, and
got in trouble for
that was.
that.
I remember. I remember your mom was like, "Wow, turn it off!" Turn it off, dude.
I don't think you guys were
Sorry,
married
Mom,
then. I don't think you guys were married then
No,
when
they
we
weren't.
first started listening to that.
No, that was just me, Phil, and Jonathan there at the house there, and what was it, Fort Ashby? I think we did
Yep.
some, and then of course they're in Grafton. So yeah.
We were singing, wouldn't it be nice if we were older? And then we're like, oh my goodness, now
And then
we're
I
old.
couldn't leave the CHM. Wouldn't it be-
when I couldn't leave the girls alone.
But yeah, so you had that. Sports was obviously wrong, even high school sports. I didn't go to a high school football game until well after I was married.
Right.
I didn't go to an actual concert. Like I'm talking the first, I think, secular concert I went to was Lou Gramm from Foreigner. And that was well after I was married.
Who is fantastic, by
Dude.
the way.
Yes.
So when you went and seen, it might have been him. You told me you're like, I'm thinking about going to a concert, and you were starting to come out of the CHM a little bit sooner than I was. And I remember you said something about going to a concert. I'm like, oh man, Phil, where's it in? Where's it in? You're like, well, it's with Keith Urban, dang it.
Contest
No, I'm
Led
just joking.
Zeppelin Def Leppard concert.
Def Leppard concert. But I remember you were like talking about going to a concert, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, man. That's dangerous. It's just where's it lead? Whatever. And
That slippery slope argument.
Dude. And then I went to my first concert, and I'm like, baby, put me on the slippery slope. I was like, dude, life was changed, man.
Yes. So, of course, like I said, I heard Rush Limbaugh preached against cut hair on women, not short hair, cut hair. And for those that might be listening that are not part of the CHM, because some of you have written me that you listen and find it fascinating, Yeah, we're talking about if you have cut your hair any at all. If you took
Oh,
scissors,
it didn't matter what it was.
yeah, if you took scissors and you took off a gnat's eyelash worth, that
Right.
was a sin. So then the reverse side on the men, if you had hair that started coming down over your ears, you were being told, get to the barber shop right now, you sinful hippie looking son of a gun. Except they wouldn't say son of a gun because that was also a sin to use slang.
That was
words.
also
Basically, everything that you do on a regular basis in your life was a sin. And somehow they believed that they could live above all of those sins.
yes. Yes.
It's true.
So true.
Beards were wrong, depending on who it was. Some would let you have beards, but goatees were wrong because
Definitely.
that was
goatee.
worldly and new. I can remember hearing about this was after I left the one church I was attending, that somebody had gotten to know, had come to believe in Christ there, and they were a singer, and somebody wanted them to sing a special in church, and they told him, as soon as you save that goatee, and they made him stand at the back of the church.
Right. After he shaved his goatee
And
off.
humiliated him.
Yeah.
And then had him sing the song standing in the back of the church.
And he's a good singer too.
This is why he still had the goatee and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's ridiculous, man.
Dyed hair on women was wrong. I had a pastor come to me one time telling me writing on my shirt, back then, Bugle Boy for Holiness Kids. You know, we got the Bugle Boy t-shirts.
Oh my.
I played the bass guitar at West Hill Church, sat on the platform. I was told, don't be having any writing on your shirt on the platform.
But you're a boy, okay? It's one thing if you're a girl and your boobs. That makes more sense.
Well, it makes more. It doesn't make sense, but it makes more sense if that's
right. It makes more sense. Yes, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying it makes more sense because girls got boobs. But they had a problem with a boy wearing writing on a shirt.
Which, looking back, there was probably something weird going on there.
That's weird. Yes, definitely.
Wide neckties. I'm not kidding. Wide neckties. I have heard that preached more times than I can count. Wide neckties, bright colors, dressing in bright. I'm not kidding.
Red, the color red.
No, just bright colors, not red. They just bright, flashy colors.
So yellow.
Any bright colors? Yeah.
If a man unbuttoned his shirt past the top button, there would be all kinds of chest hair jokes. What are you trying to do?
Well, you know why? You know why they had a problem with that, though.
David Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
No. So that the guy with the Sean O'Connery, I think his name was, with his chest hair coming out and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was hot stuff. That's why they had a problem with it.
You're probably right. They don't like people to look good.
They don't like our men to look fancy.
Plays in church. Plays in church. Yes. Like our church, West Hill Church, has never had, that I can remember, a Christmas play. We would have a Christmas program where all of us little kids went up, and it was the same darn program every year, and we all dressed up like angels and waddled up there like idiots and recited the same stupid verses that everybody, I shouldn't call them stupid verses, same Bible verses, but we could not have a play.
Oh, go watch it.
So we could dress up. We could dress up like angels. We could dress up like shepherds. We just could not memorize lines and then say those lines to each other, because then that was a play and that was wrong.
Oh my goodness.
So you could have done the Christmas story then?
No.
Yes, you could. As long as you were quoting the Bible.
Yeah, if a 12-year-old stood there and memorized it and recited it, yes.
No, I was just going to say different, just read it. Oh, I would have totally played with that. You could have done so many ways around that.
So you also, and I'm finishing up my list here, because I said, and I racked my brain trying to remember all this stupid stuff.
You did so good.
Coffee in church was wrong.
I love my coffee in church, by the way.
I used to hear all the horror stories. I just went by there the other day and they have a coffee machine in the sanctuary, and God has departed. And so that was wrong. Just eating in a building connected. The fellowship hall could not be connected to the church. And I've literally saw holiness churches, a holiness church, one specifically in Ohio. They brought in this crew and tore off like a 5-foot walkway just so they could say that the church and the fellowship hall were disconnected from one another.
I remember there was a church, and this is my story now, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It was spent like $20,000 just to disconnect the community building from the church, just so they could have food in there. I'm sorry. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
It is.
Because it is such a bad stewardship of the church money. Think of how many people they could have fed.
Will somebody pay me $20,000 to disconnect from them?
I'll go there with an axe. I'll chop the whole entire church down.
I got a little carried away. Texas Roadhouse was wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Served alcohol. In fact, I can remember, Miss, going to Texas Roadhouse with you after I was married.
Yes. You were like, please don't tell my mother.
Terrified that you were going to take a selfie and post it, and the wrong people would find out that I was in a house of ill repute called Texas Roadhouse.
Oh, baby, I'm sorry.
No, this is how I believed.
I know.
Women working.
Shoot, that's why she's sorry.
Yes, I am sorry. That's awful. Seriously
crazy.
though, like, yeah, I know you can go on and on, but look at the bondage.
Oh.
So much bondage.
Yes.
So much bondage.
The last two that I can remember, and I'm sure there's more, but women working outside the home. Wrong. Mixed bathing. Believe it or not, that's what they used to call it. And mixed bathing is their frickin' fancy way of saying, if you got a woman and you got a man, y'all can't go swimming in the same place. Because somebody might have a little issue.
Okay, but your mom would take you. You guys would go down.
This wasn't mom.
Oh.
I want to make this clear. Mom didn't.
Yeah,
push
mom
all this
didn't do
stuff.
that. No.
This is stuff we heard from the church.
Yeah. It was preached.
Yeah,
But your
Mom saw
pastor-
through a lot
I
of it.
remember a lot of the same stuff.
But even then, just keep on going though. Friends of yours could go as long as they swam in hose.
Yes.
They literally had to wear their hose.
Excuse me, what?
I remember that.
They literally had to wear their hose if they were going to go swimming.
They would swim with their hose.
Well, they were waiting, if I remember right, because
Well, I swim with hose.
Yeah, they were swimming with their hose.
Well, I mean, I was the hoe, but
Yeah.
I mean, man.
Until she don't want to be your hoe. No more.
No.
Oh man.
Oh man, I think we watched The Office a lot.
We do. Straight up office man.
But anyways, yeah, that's the
Oh,
list I can remember.
Man,
That's too
and
much.
but
That's too much. And to think about it, mine's worse.
Yes, yours is worse. Absolutely.
Yeah. I can't wait.
and man, and you found, but you still managed to.
Escape.
Well, not only escape, but to still stay a Christian and not lose and not just throw it all away and say I'm done with this altogether.
Right.
I mean, you hung in there, which we all have, you know.
Yeah.
So what
And,
made you start
and
to
said,
ask
"We're gonna stick it
questions?
out."
Well,
What made you start to question?
mom and dad were never the type to say don't ask questions. Mom and dad
for
never
them.
formally joined the church.
Right.
We just attended, and we kept most of the standards. But mom and dad didn't drink all the Kool-Aid like they didn't. And now mom is out. Dad's passed on, but mom left the CHM completely, and is
I'm so proud
is
of
doing
her.
phenomenal. She's a believer in Christ, and
If
doing
anything,
well.
I think mom is more. This is going to sound crazy. I think mom is more Christian now.
Yeah.
Because mom's always like, turn on K-Love, or she's reading like certain Christian books. And it's like, she's really like, we go to Bible studies. We're more interactive in the church than what we were before when we were a CHM.
Yeah.
I don't know
Oh,
why,
yeah.
but there's a change for sure.
Well, man,
A good change.
there's a great thing about actually having a relationship with Christ and not just a
Right.
dread or what is the right word I'm looking for? An obligation.
Like, yeah,
It's like an
there you
obligation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's a relationship, not an obligation.
Exactly
Yes.
right.
So,
And
that's,
when you're in the CHM though, there's so many, like you do it this way all the time. You read this, you do that. It's like become a ritual.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
we can all get into a habit of things. So I agree with the
Oh, yeah.
obligation statement, because it is. It's like you're obligated to do
Yeah.
this, and this.
Yes.
Whereas
Yes.
whenever you have
And
a
that's-
relationship,
yeah.
you're like, okay, so I'm going to wear something a little different today. I'm going to make Phil some coffee. I'm going to do this. Like you work on things. It does become a relationship.
Yeah,
It's
it
not,
does.
it's not
Yes.
like habitual where you don't have to think about it. It's intentional,
Exactly.
intentional
Yeah.
living. There we go.
Intentional living. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, actually.
So the way I got out, I'd moved to Fort Ashby. This is when me and Kanan were
Mm-hmm.
rampaging around the mall over there.
Looking at the Kaiser Queens.
The Kaiser Queens. Before that happened, I'd moved there. I was dating this girl. Her name was Brittany.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember, I look back on that now and I'm like, oh my Lord, how cringy I was with something. Because I would, just gives me
You've
goosebumps.
even told me that you didn't like how you treated her.
Oh gosh, no.
You treated her
No,
bad.
I was a dick. I was a dick with this stuff.
Like, what did you do exactly to treat her badly?
I was a Pharisee. Was a CHM Pharisee. I can remember I had went on this tear that any kind of music other than Christian music was wrong. And so she, to appease me, this was a long distance relationship, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
She, to appease me, she agreed with me. And then one day we're talking on the phone, and I hear her listening to
Oh boy.
bluegrass music in the background that wasn't gospel.
Oh my. Not the bluegrass.
And of course, I got all busy.
Did you?
No.
Oh boy, did I ever! Ugh. Yeah, it was stuff like that. That's what I was. Then at some point that relationship broke off. I was about 15 at the time, and like I said, was a little fool. And that relationship broke off. And
Did you? Okay, so be honest here. Did you break up with her because she wasn't being that perfect little church girl that you wanted?
no,
Okay.
no, that was not it at all.
I didn't know if that had anything to do with your upraising. Like she wasn't being that Christian CHM girl that
No,
you
I
wanted.
can honestly say that didn't have anything to do
Okay.
with it. So then I met you, Miss,
Mm-hmm.
and
Actually, your mom saw me first, but yeah.
yeah, you were at Clinton Camp, and that's one of the reasons why Clinton Camp always have a special place in my heart. You know,
Yes. Agreed.
I met you there. Me and you started talking,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still firmly rooted in the CHM at this point.
Yeah.
You were as well.
Yep.
But y'all were Bible missionary.
Mm-hmm.
And Bible missionary, I can remember when my pastor at the time, this was a different Allegheny pastor, but I can remember when he heard that I was dating a Bible missionary girl, he said, you have to be careful. You have to be careful. They have some weird views on things. I'm pretty sure he was talking about divorce and remarriage. I'm pretty sure that's what he was talking about.
Oh, that's the only thing I can
Yeah.
think that would be any different.
Yeah, he was wringing his hands at how, I guess, how awfully liberal the Bible missionary were.
Was this the...
Yes.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
I remember you telling me, and looking back on this, I could kick myself because you were so nervous to tell me.
I was. Babe, I was so nervous to tell you that I came from a divorced man that I was pacing in the backyard of the Aliquippa BMC, like in the church,
To
in bare
clarify what you're
feet.
saying, your dad had been divorced, had been married before.
Yes.
Innocent party
And remarried,
situation.
right.
Married your mom.
Which the BMC
And
church is okay with.
People, this is what Missy was scared to tell me. This little thing that had nothing to do with me, was none of my darn business.
Yeah.
But
It bothered
That's how
you
it was.
so much that you went to your pap and asked something.
well, you told me that, and you're like, I hope this isn't a deal breaker.
Right. I remember. Because you were really you wanted to date so bad. And I was like, you don't know what I come from. This
Which is not a big, it's not
yeah,
a big,
I know. But
yeah.
but that just shows you just how strict you were to a point.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, I come from a sinner, basically, is what you're telling me. Like all this little things. This is what
That's
you
how I
believe.
did look at it
Yeah.
at the time.
And I'm kind of like,
before.
okay, it's one thing if he thinks my dad's bad, but you legit thought that I was bad as well.
Because you believe that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I needed somebody to line up to every little thing that I believed.
Right. And Pap told you what?
So I asked Pap about it, Ron Gandy.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, that was the first domino that fell with me leaving the CHM. That was
Yeah.
the first thing. And it took several years after that. But that was the first thing that fell that I realized this is all bull. This is crap.
Yeah.
Pap did not give me the talking points that, this is just sin and that's just the way we believe.
Right.
And keep in mind, the CHM circles that I ran in, they would expect someone, because I used to expect this of people, if you say that you messed up early on in your life,
Right.
you were married, doesn't matter if it was for a week, you divorced.
If you were drunk or anything like that, it
if
doesn't
you-
matter.
If you divorced them then and you married somebody else later on, say that they even cheated on you and you divorced them,
Right.
okay? And you married somebody else later on and you raised a family. The CHM movement that I was a part of would expect you, after you came to Christ, to separate, break up your family,
So divorce
divorce,
them
Oh,
because
yeah.
you were
and
never
then
technically married
raise
to
your
them.
kids as two separate households.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yes. I know of people, miss. I know of someone right now that did that. They
Oh,
did
that's
it.
awful.
They broke their home up for the CHM.
Man, that's crazy.
And, but Pap didn't give me the talking points. He told me where to find it in the Bible.
Yeah.
And I read it, and I read that except for fornication thing.
Right.
And I was like,
What's
wait
this
a minute.
mean?
What is this?
Yeah, you didn't. No one would preach that to you in church, right? That
No,
was probably
no,
one of the
not
first
sure.
times you ever heard that.
If they did, they would have some twisted version. The CHM preachers, they are so good at twisting stuff. And I know people will think that I'm just mocking and stuff, but this is how I feel.
Yeah.
They're very devious with the way that they twist stuff. And I even heard one guy, he'd be like, no, that's talking about if you were engaged and they fornicated, then you could divorce them.
So
Well, that's weird. Don't you have to be married to get divorced? You know,
Right.
it's just stupid stuff that they would preach.
well, like, okay, you know how Joseph
Idiot.
in the Bible, like with Mary, he wanted to put her away privately, even though she was his betrothed.
Yes.
Is that what they're talking about? He's
That's
talking
what
about then?
they tried to say that. Yes.
No, that's not. Nope.
But that's what started it, miss. And then the holiness doctrines, other questions would come up,
Mm-hmm.
like eating in church or
Right.
whatever. You know, Christians and alcohol use,
Right.
tattoos, tobacco use, hair length, pants on women. And I would, whenever those topics came up, I would go search the Bible and find out what it said. And I realized
The things that they
the
were preaching.
CHM was not telling me the truth.
Yeah.
And then I became ashamed of myself
Right.
and began to realize, Phil, you're an ugly individual.
Yeah.
And trust me, there's been times I've sat and had tears in my eyes thinking about it, you know, just how embarrassing
Yeah.
that it always now. But reading the Bible brought me out of the CHM. I never had a rebellious phase.
That's interesting.
You know, I never had a phase where I did want to serve God
Right.
ever since I was, you know, a little kid and went to the altar at the West Hill Church. But reading the Bible showed me that the CHM is wrong. And of course, then also one of the things that fell, Canaan, remember me and you have these conversations, was the second work. I realized that once that one fell, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not holiness anymore. Quote, holiness. I'm not
Yeah.
CHM anymore.
Right.
If I don't believe
Yeah.
that, as well as not believing all this other stuff,
Well,
then I'm not CHM.
and
Yeah.
another
Then
thing
I'm not
too.
CHM.
Another thing too, like when you're talking about the second work, and this is another conversation altogether. I've heard so many examples of it, and it's never the same for different people.
Yes.
The one thing that remains constant is Jesus Christ and Him crucified.
Yes.
That is the one thing that remains the same. Because I've heard so many different people. Like we went to focus group there in Muncie with Mark Heskett of the church that Kane and Mariah go to now. And I remember we asked this question about second work, and there were so many different explanations to all about it.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting. So yeah, I agree about that second work thing.
A funny story. I can remember going to the altar to beg and plead for the second work with Sheldon Stevens as the evangelist. I can remember going down there and just praying, you know, and thought that Sheldon Stevens was, you know, basically, this is the man here sent from God to impart me with the whatever, you know, the second work, or to tell me about it. And I prayed and I didn't get it.
No.
I didn't get it.
Mm.
And then, of course, the things came out. You know, there were some issues with him later on, but yeah,
With
that's
old brother Steven.
with old brother Stevens. That's how I left the CHM. That's what got me out.
That's good.
I remember, you know, you really, you know, digging deep for that, you know, the second work. And I remember we had that conversation for, man, what was it? A couple hours, man, probably 2 or 3 in the morning. We was out there walking West Hill Road, you know, and you were trying, you know, talking to me, and I was trying to help you through it. And of course I was as lost in the ball in high weeds myself. I mean, when it came to finding the second work.
It's funny with that, because the person that got me thinking that the second work might not be what they said it was, or might not even exist at all, was actually a CHM individual who is still CHM to this day. And he'll know who I'm talking about, because me and him's laughed about this many times. And he still goes through the study trying to figure it out even after all these years. But he was the one. I remember when I first heard that, I was like, how dare you? Blasphemous.
Right.
And then I started thinking about it. and started reading the Bible about it. And if I remember right, I told you, and you're like, well, that's
Start
blasphemous.
sputtering.
Yeah, I remember. I think my exact words like I was honestly like scared that like you was even thinking that direction. Like oh my Phil, oh my, you probably ought not think like that. Like that's the only argument that I had. You know? Sounded like my dad when he was trying to talk standards with me. Oh son, oh my, that's dangerous thinking. You know?
Dangerous thing.
And the thing of it is, though, that just shows you how much we've been like brainwashed, man. Because like this is you're questioning what you've been taught. It's like, oh my goodness, this is the end. Yeah, that slippery slope. You're just gonna fall off the face of the earth.
It's funny, Kanan, hearing you say that because I've been listening some to Eli Yoder lately.
He's
the
good.
ex-Amish dude on
That's
TikTok.
interesting.
Oh yeah.
And we're in talks with him to come on the podcast. So I've been trying to pay more attention to exactly what he's saying.
Oh, I have so many questions.
But I'll hear him tell his story. He's got a very, very good story about how he left the Amish.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll hear some of us tell our stories, Kanan. And they sound so freaking similar. Even some of the ways, some of the things that were told to us, like, you better be careful thinking like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
that's
it's so
because
weird.
that's about the only arguments they really have.
So that's how I made it out. And I feel like I discovered what it actually means to be a Christian. And
So you have arrived? Are you saying you have arrived?
I also realized that I am not perfect and that there's a lot of times I have to ask God to forgive me of my sins. You know, something that I may have slipped up on or stumbled into.
Right.
The mistake, as CHM would call it.
Yeah.
For sake of argument further now, let's just call it the mistake. I am not perfect at all, but I feel like that my walk with Christ has gotten so much deeper and that even my knowledge of the Bible and all that, along with my walk with Christ, has gotten so much deeper, so much better after I left the CHM.
Agreed. Proud of you, man. You've done great, and I've always had confidence in you, man.
I appreciate it.
And it's honestly been really cool to you know, of course, we've all been friends for so many years now, you know, and so it's been really cool to watch all four of us, you know, grow.
Yes.
And, you know, and of course, I mean, we've had so many conversations, you know, like the four of us just sitting around the table, you know, just, you know, talking and stuff. And so I think that's honestly, that support group has honestly helped, you know.
Yes, it has.
Well,
so yeah, it's been great.
And being able to be yourself and talk about things that, you know, concern you and like to ask the questions. Because like if you would never have asked your pastor these questions that you were asking Kanan or talking to me about.
Yeah, good point.
Oh, mine, you can never, there was very few people actually really deep in the theater, there was not many people. I would maybe allude, would that be the right word? To some things that I was thinking, but I would never just come right out and be like, no, this is bullcrap. You know?
Right.
It's funny, you get those conversations. Have you ever thought that maybe pants aren't a sin?
Yeah.
You know, I'm asking for a friend. You know? Oh, man.
Asking for a friend. Oh, man.
We might as well wrap it up, huh?
Yeah.
That was
nice. I like this.
That was
Part 1 of 4.
part
That's
one.
right.
Yes.
That's exactly
Yes.
Part
right.
1 of 4.
I like this.
All right. I love
I do
you all.
too.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.